Hi, everyone. I am Elaine Beck, and this is my show, It's Not About Us. And, you know, my favorite word is excited. And you're sick of hearing that, aren't you? But I have to say it every once in a while. So I'm very excited today because my friend who I've interviewed before, Saurabh Sharma from American Moment, is with us again today. And I'm so excited. And I told him, I said, I've got some surprise questions for you because we're going to talk about things that aren't about American Moment. Although he's going to get a few minutes to share with you at the end how to reach out and all that. We can't neglect that. And we're not going to talk about, you know, my studio or my show. It's Not About Us. We're going to talk about real life things that are happening right now and how it's easy for people that aren't of faith to get very scared right now. And, look at what some of the reasons might be that things are happening this way. For instance, Saurabh, say hello to everybody.
Well, hello, Elaine, and hello to your audience. Thank you for having me, as always, in your beautiful studio.
Thank you.
Our conversations on this show are simultaneously some of the most fun, but also the most natural interviews I ever do. So it's just us talking. There just happen to be 5 or 6 cameras around.
Yes, and it is fun. You know, but, you know, it's funny. I try not to talk about the ugly in that without doing the opposing joy and stuff. And just the fact, Saurabh, for instance, that we do live in a time such as this. You know, we all should be grateful that God has us here now because we all can play the better, good side of everything. And they can all pray for our enemies. Mm-hmm. What God says to do. But today, I want to talk to you about some of the things that are happening today. For instance, what's happening to President Trump and the grilling and the drilling and everything and the name calling and stuff and trying to get him put in jail or prison or whatever and that type of thing is pretty upsetting to everybody. All of us that know him personally, respect him, have seen what he's done. You know, those types of things that are happening right now, I have a thought for you and I would like your opinion. I have decided, since he's pretty much stuck in New York and having to only talk to the people there, which is working out well, why aren't we should be the ones speaking for him. Don't you think so?
Absolutely. They're trying to keep President Trump off the campaign trail by keeping him tied up in these BS lawsuits in New York, in Georgia, all over the country. And so I think more than any other election cycle, it's not enough to just support the president. It's not enough to just go vote. I think every single person has to deputize themselves and say,
amen.
I have a responsibility. You know, Joe Biden's going to spend $2 billion and be running around the country while he should be being president of the United States, though, frankly, I'd rather he be campaigning than doing anything in D.C. And President Trump is going to be outgunned financially, and he's certainly going to be outgunned in terms of the amount of time he's able to spend on the trail because of these lawsuits. And so every single citizen has a responsibility to act like a citizen and to go out, be talking to their neighbors, be talking to their communities, and be making it very clear that though you might not see President Trump, 8 times this year in Arizona, it's not because he doesn't want to be here.
It's right.
Because they're not letting him be here. And so it's a moment where I think that there is heightened responsibility on the supporters of the president and every patriotic citizen out there, and we have to rise to the challenge.
Absolutely. And the good thing is, everybody's always saying, well, I don't know what I can do. How can I help? How can I help? What can I do? There are so many things you can do right now. I mean, speak to your neighbors, speak to your friends, put that MAGA hat on.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get some courage in this country. Yeah. I can't believe how wimpy some of the men in this country are. I hope that that's not my Christian brothers.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope that they find the courage and the ability to stand up like the men that God made them to be and speak out and say, No, we don't want more of this that we've had the last 3.5 years. We want the man that stood for this country, who didn't take a pay, who wants to make sure that we have freedom again in this country, and will stop all this idiocy with all of these, brainwashings of our children and our communities and on the media and stuff. Let's vote for somebody and stand for him.
That's right. There's 3 things that every person can give in varying quantities. It's time, treasure, and reputation, right?
Right.
And so let's say that, you're a retiree in, suburban Arizona. You should be spending the time you can, going around, put out yard signs to the president, knock on doors, what have you. Treasure, if you have means, or even if you don't, everyone can usually give something. Obviously don't break the bank, but help donate to the president's legal efforts and to his campaign and to causes that are helping support him. And then reputation, and that's the one I want to dig into a little bit, because I know a lot of people, Elaine, that are current business executives. They're people in very high profile positions in corporate America. And what I tell them when I sit down with them, these are people with substantial means. I say, I'm not asking you to donate to me. I'm not asking you to spend a ton of time doing anything else. I'm asking you to say that you're going to be voting for President Donald Trump in November, because it's these sort of titans of industry that determine what kind of culture we live in.
Right.
What's the atmosphere in public life? In the 2010s, the atmosphere was the only public political position you can take is that you're a liberal.
Right.
And, what kind of liberal was the only controversy? Are you a, far left liberal like Bernie Sanders, or a just left wing liberal like Hillary Clinton? Now you're starting to see, and it's actually exciting, some business executives are starting to take a different tack. People are willing to say, I might be supporting Trump, or I will support Trump. Elon Musk is one of the people that's gotten a lot of censure because of that. He's been willing to say that, this is a disaster what the Biden administration has done.
Right.
So reputation is not just what the highest level business executives have. It's what you said, putting on a MAGA hat. And it's worth delving into why that's important, right? When you're putting on a MAGA hat and just walking around the town square, so to speak, you're not just, showing what you believe politically. You're playing your part in making being center-right, conservative, Trump supporter, just part of the atmosphere of public life.
That's right.
And there's no way to do that except every single individual person making the choice to do that.
Right.
And that's the difference between living in a left-wing society and a right-wing society, is what's acceptable to just do in the public square. The left, they have no problem wearing Che Guevara t-shirts, genocidal, murderous communists from Cuba, or wearing these, Palestine keffiyeh scarves. Why should we be afraid of wearing a Make America Great Again hat?
Absolutely. And, if that means that you go in a group so that you're there to, you can speak up for each other and stand together, of course. I'm
Absolutely.
not saying put on a MAGA hat and walk up and down your street with every crazy driving by.
Sure.
I'm saying there's places and times for everything. Be a man, get your group together, do what you need to do. Up in Pine Top, where I have a home, a few years back, they said they were going to bring in a truckload of people that were doing all the rioting. And the next thing you know, that night when they were expecting them, told they were going to be there, the streets were aligned with men ready to stand and said, bring them on.
Yeah.
These are the kind of things that we may have to do. We're not going to shoot guns. We're not going to go out and start a war. But there are types of wars that are safe. That's words that protect, words that stand for what you believe in. It's being a man and saying, I will speak out and say what I feel, and you have the right to too, but I'm going to speak use my voice.
Absolutely. You and I have talked before about we have a masculinity crisis in this country, and it boils down to a lot of different things, but ultimately the shortest resource in supply in American life is courage. And I think everyone could do with exhibiting a lot more of it, especially our men, because at the end of the day, men play a leading role in society in determining what direction civilization goes. And it's time that people buck up and speak out.
And I'll throw this out before we change the subject. All you ladies out there, support those men. Be behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Love them. Make them feel good. Give them the courage. Help them to understand that you trust them and that God trusts them to do the right thing. Be there for them.
Mm-hmm.
Cook them that good meal. Make them have a good day. And tell them that you're behind them no matter what they do. That's how they can do their job too.
Yeah, someone brought this up to me a few months ago. They said that really, if you look in the polls and the statistics and everything, the Republican Party is the party of working men and the women who love them. That's what it is.
And it is. And it's just like the armed forces, the majority of them are from Republican families.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because they are that type of man. They do know that they have a responsibility and they're not afraid of a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we're falling through. The family is falling down because people don't want to make a commitment anymore. Don't have anything to do with them. Go find yourself someone that's willing to make a commitment that you can be proud of. Get yourself a lady that is proud to be on your arm.
Yeah.
Not
Absolutely.
walk away. Okay? These are the things that we all can do. And I would like to change the subject, though, because right now, the biggest heartache I have is for the Jewish people, Jerusalem and Israel, and the sham that this country is putting on against them. And I did hear, I didn't get to hear much news today, but somebody in my office said that they are telling kids now that have been, out there rallying, and speaking up for the Palestinians and trying to put down the Jewish people and threatening them and that. They've told them in some of these universities, either go home, either be quiet, go in, do your studies and quit right now, or you're being thrown off campus. But I think it's too little too late. And I think that, I actually had a sort of a thought from God the other day when I heard about how bad it was getting and how the Jewish people were feeling so threatened and they didn't feel safe here anymore, which really saddens me, makes me want to cry. I thought, well, in the Bible it says that God will send all the Jews back home to Jerusalem. Is this part of that movement? Is God going to tell them now, you need to go home? I'd hate to see that day come because that is not a good sign for us. And we need to love people that God loves irregardless of anything. And that is his chosen people. That is his home. That is his land. And we are told to pray for them and to take care of them. What do you think?
I was in Jerusalem just a month and a half ago, I think in February.
Right.
And it was the first time I had been. And gosh, I'll tell you, Elaine, it was an enraging experience. And here's the reason why. When I went to the old city where a lot of the holy sites are,
right,
it was completely empty. It was completely empty. And
oh, wow.
What does that mean? Well, it meant that I didn't have to stand in line to go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and stuff. So, it was, relatively convenient as a first-time tourist, but it means that there's millions and millions and millions of pilgrims coming to worship that are not doing so for fear of Hamas's bombs falling on them.
Oh, yeah,
and,
absolutely.
I think that there's all sorts of interesting debates to be had on this, but at the end of the day, the basic dichotomy boils down as follows, which is that if Hamas laid down its weapons tomorrow, there would be peace. If Israel laid down its weapons tomorrow, it would be a genocide. That's
right.
That's the basic
Absolutely.
dichotomy. And one side is pro-civilization, one side is anti-civilization. Does that mean I want a broader war in the Middle East? Does it mean I want to go to war with Iran? No, not at all. Do I want to make sure that we're looking out for American interests? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, one side in this war is the enemies of civilization, and one side are the people who build civilization. Israel is one of the few countries in the world that has built a thriving civilization in no time flat. They desalinate the water. They protect the holy sites. It's a really, really impressive country. And I think it's just ridiculous that people could take the side of these terrorists. It just seems utterly baffling to me. Right. When it comes to the college students in the United States, look, a lot of them are miseducated morons. They are, looking for any excuse to not go to class. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. I was a college student once. They're looking for any excuse to not go to class.
Oh, that's so sad, isn't it?
And whether it's COVID or, the quote unquote genocide that they think is going on, they're going to look for any excuse they can to go, to not go to class. This gets a little bit in the weeds, but at the end of the day, a lot of them are just trying to ape, images that they saw from the 60s and 70s. They see these pictures in black and white, and they think that this is going to be their coming of age ritual, them stomping and pounding and screaming in the middle of, their college yard. They think that this is going to be their moment where they're going to get a picture taken of them that's going to go throughout history. So it's fundamentally narcissistic in a certain way. It's not,
right,
it's not about protecting the Palestinians. It's about carving out a little moment of serendipity for themselves. And frankly, the overwhelming feeling I get looking at these protests is, man, do we have an entire generation, crying out for strong father figures. And so,
oh, absolutely. But by the same token, a lot of them are just, you watch on the news and these people are coming out of court, oh, look what we did. It's all a party to them.
Yeah.
They don't understand the seriousness that this isn't a coming of age. This is an end of an age if they don't straighten up.
Yeah.
If they don't start getting realistic and actually look to the forefathers in the beginning of this country and why it's a Judeo-Christian country and how we sent our men overseas to protect the people in Germany that were being slaughtered and burned to death and everything else because they were Jewish. We saved them. Now we're going to destroy them? I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah, there's two sides to this, right? There's the kids I was talking about, that are just looking to, make a name for themselves and think they're looking cool. And then there's the consequences of our immigration policy for the last 40 years, right? Which is we imported, tens of millions of people with deep-seated hatred of the Jewish people into our country. And then we scratch our heads in confusion and wonder, oh my God, we have a problem. Dearborn, Michigan is a Hamas town. Like, why is that? Why is Ilhan Omar elected where she is? Why is Rashida Tlaib elected why she is? None of this is surprising. It's
it is to people that have paid no attention.
Right.
Okay. And it all comes back down to so many simple things that are killing our country. And that is that they have made the lies and practiced and infiltrated. And part of that is coming across the border. Look at the numbers of Chinese and Muslims and you mentioned Hamas and stuff that have been let to walk across our border. Who are we protecting ourselves when we're letting them in the front door to, destroy us? We better be looking in our backyard and taking care of business. And that's why we need to be supporting President Trump. And I've got to wrap this up because we've gone over a little, but that's okay. It's a great show. It's all things that needed to be said. It's wonderful when you have a guest that you know well enough that you can sit down and bring up any subject and you know that they are going to be on the right side of God and country. And that's where we stand. And thank you for standing with us. And thank you for being part of who we are. I know that we're part of who you are, but it's a blessing to me to know you, Saurabh, and just to realize that somebody as young as yourself, that God's calling everybody. I'm going to be working on those seniors. You keep working on those kids. Is that a deal?
Absolutely.
Okay. Save our children. This is what we need. All of you, save the children. Please fight for this country. Be courageous. Go out and do the right thing. Thank you for being here, and God bless all of you for being here. As always, I'll be praying for you. See you next show.